everybody, and welcome to tonight's Wealth Builders webinar. I am so excited that you joined us, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We're talking about a topic that anybody that owns a business, or if you have a ministry, or even if you're doing anything significant in real estate, you need to know about your brand strategy. And I just want to welcome all of you. Billy and Becky send their love to you. We are so excited about this upcoming workshop. That is the Business and Nonprofit Workshop. It's August 18th through the 20th. And let me tell you, it's going to be amazing. I'll share with you a little bit more about some of the things that we've added. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. But the main thing is just so you know that we love you, you are our family, and we are excited to be going alongside you in your pursuit of building wealth God's way. So I first want to find out, where are you all tuning in from? And so if you would just share with me in the chat, like your name, where you're tuning in from. I've got Frank Pulley on with me, our amazing real estate and business coach. Do you want to say hi, Frank?
You guys could be anywhere else tonight and you're with us, and that's really special. So thank you for being with us tonight, and welcome.
Amen. And we've got Troy Peterson, our newest real estate coach, on from Melbourne, Florida. Troy, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. Thanks so much for taking time to honor your time with us tonight. It really means a lot.
Yeah.
Wow, we're going to have a lot of fun. And just so you know, this is great. We've got Shelly on. Hello, Shelly. She says hello from Randy and Shelly in Louisiana. We're so glad. We've got Victoria from the UK. Hello, Victoria, and welcome. Rachel from Tinley Park, Illinois. Welcome. We're so excited you joined us. And Darren from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Hello. We've got Paula Maria Brown from Greece. What? Wow, that's so cool. Welcome. We've got Jeff and Jan from Virginia. Hello. So glad to have you on. We just met with Jeff and Jan. I think it was last week. And so we're just grateful. And Joy from England. So excited to have you on. Thank you. She says she's excited to be here. We've got Dennis tuning in from Pismo Beach, California. Welcome, Dennis. We've got, I hope I pronounced this right, Simbarashi from Zimbabwe. Wow. Thanks for joining us all the way from Africa. I can't imagine what time it is over there, but I'm thinking it's the middle of the night. So that is very special. We've got Lino on from the Federated States of Micronesia. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh, Kim and Kurt are on from Texas. Hello, Kim and Kurt. We just chatted with you today. Dennis Jones says hello all. We've got Tara from Melbourne, Australia. I am telling you, our Wealth Builders family is definitely global. This is amazing. So yeah, she just confirmed her. Yes, it is definitely midnight or in the middle of the night over in Africa. Well, we are so blessed that you joined us. And just a reminder that any webinar that we do, oh, we've got Betty from Australia. Hi, Betty. Any webinar that we do, we want it to be interactive. You know, we want to teach you things, but really what's probably more important is we want to connect with you, and we want you to connect with each other. So part of it is just letting us know where you're from. Everybody can see, comment along the way. We're going to save some time at the end of this for some questions, and you can ask any questions that you would like. And so we are so happy. Lorene just said that she is on from Hawaii. We're so happy you joined us. So before we get started, I know Frank and Troy, I'm leading the teaching on this, but I just want to give you an opportunity. If you have anything that's on your heart you want to share with people with a couple comments. Frank, do you have anything to kick us off with?
Well, I think that, anything that's done right has, a method to the madness, and you got to take things in normally a sequential order. And I think tonight you're going to give us the order of things in establishing a brand with kind of a Christian touch to it.
That's awesome. How about you, Troy?
Yeah, I agree with what Frank says. I think it's great to have a good plan and a good strategy. And branding yourself is so important. it really is kind of part of your core. I worked with a lot of people who've spent a lot of effort on brand. It's not something you want to overthink, but it is something you definitely want to pray and go. And I can't think of anybody better than Karen to be able
No.
to share this. And I'm not saying that just because I love Karen so much, but Karen was my business coach before I became a coach with wealth builders, and she really made a difference in my business. And I know her teaching tonight is going to make a difference in yours.
Ah, that's so sweet. Thank you so much, guys. All right, let's get started. And by the way, we just have Angie that popped on from Colorado Springs. Hello, Angie. All right. So I've got a little PowerPoint that I'm going to be sharing with you guys tonight. And let me just locate that. I think it's really helpful if we have a little bit of visual to go with the information. So that is what I am trying to do for you. Also, I want to let you know that anybody that is signed up for this webinar, you're actually going to receive a copy of this PowerPoint and the recording. So if you miss something, don't worry about it. It's coming to you soon. All right, can y'all see that okay? All right, let's get started. Creating your brand. Many of you know, like one of my backgrounds, or one of the things I'm really passionate about is marketing. And creating your brand, I think, is one of those like starting blocks, right? That you want to do it right. And I think sometimes what people do is they're really into the look of the logo. That's awesome. You want to have your colors. That's definitely all part of it. But as Christian entrepreneurs and business owners, or if you're starting, you're an aspiring entrepreneur, we want to think through our brand from the perspective of, hey, this is sort of like how we present ourselves. And we want it to reflect that vision or that dream that God's put on our heart with our business. So I want to start out with, if you are, maybe you could even share with me, like in the chat, how many of you are wanting to start a business? How many of you have a business and you just want to make sure that your branding is correct? Just kind of let me know where you're at. That's really helpful. But anytime that we do a brand, it really starts with vision. And that vision comes from the Lord. It's really interesting just throughout the years and working with companies and entities, nonprofits. I've really noticed that, whatever someone is super excited about in their business is what comes forward, right? It's also what propels them to be like strong and persevere, but it's also the thing that attracts people to your vision. And so, like we do, we talk about fundraising. There's definitely some things there. Obviously, marketing is really important, but ultimately, the people that respond to you are going to be attracted to your God-given vision, whether they buy the product, whether they donate, whatever that looks like. It starts with vision. It's a very important part of our business from top to bottom, and definitely throughout all aspects of marketing. So when I meet people that are just overexcited about their business, it really, I step back and I'm thinking, like, wow, how can you be so excited about like inspections, right? Or wow, how can you be so excited about, a food bank, which is great. It's a great thing, but I mean, excited, passionate. And I know when I see people like that and they can't stop talking about their business or what God's put on their heart, they've connected their God-given vision. And I want to just tell you and encourage you that that vision is the basis of what needs to connect your brand. Okay. They're not separate. It's not like, okay, here's my God-given vision bucket. Oh, and here's the marketing brand. And when we hire people or work with marketers that are helping us with our brand, if they don't connect the head and the heart in that, it's not going to represent your brand well. It's not going to translate to people. So my question is, what has God called you in your ministry or business to do? God has an adventure and an assignment for you that is specific to you and your team. it's probably not going to be like someone else's. You don't want it to be. It's important that you allow God to show you what the vision is for you and your business and run with it. So I've got some scriptures here. You've heard that. I'm just going to share one because I have a lot of content I want to share with you on brand tonight. But I really think this is very interesting in Habakkuk 2:2, maybe from a different perspective than what you have heard. But it says, "And the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it." You know, sometimes I look at that and I know, well, I've got to have a strong vision or communicate the vision so that the team members that are supporting the organization or what we're doing understand it and they can read it and run with it. But I've also learned that that vision coming from God, writing it down, helps us as entrepreneurs and business owners to remember why did I start this? Have you ever been in a position as an entrepreneur where you're just like, oh my gosh, I've just had the worst day. Remind me of why I started this. And that's where the brand needs to reflect why you started your business and what that vision is. And every part of it needs to reflect who you are, what you've been called to do. And then people can take that vision, you know, see your branding and run with it. So if it's internal people, they're able to carry it out based on the vision. If it's your customer, they're able to recognize, like, wow, I'm really aligned with this product, or I really believe in what they're doing. So the passion, the vision really underlies and gives you the foundation for everything. Okay, let's go on to the next screen here. Oops, that's not what we want to do. Bear with me. I need to get back to my PowerPoint. There it is. Okay. The next one is just also a foundation of 1 Corinthians 3, 6, 9 through 11. And this applies to any business as well. And I just say it here, of course, I'm a marketer, like we are joint promoters. We are marketers. And listen to this, God is so invested in your business and excited about what he's called you to do that he has told us how to grow it. And he's even come alongside us to give us some insight into how to make it successful. So I love this. Verse 6 says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God all the while was making it grow, and he gave the increase. So if I can just talk business owner to business owner, I've been in, you know, corporate situations. Obviously, my favorite thing is vice president of wealth builders. When you have a call of God on your life, we are so passionate about it. We feel so much like we've got to steward this well, that what can happen is we start to take responsibility for the increase on ourselves. So what God has really given us here is sort of like a method or a piece of advice on how to keep things in order. So we plant, okay, and that's part of brand strategy. We're developing the message, the passion, so that other people can hear it and see it. Apollos watered, right? That might be your ad spend, that might be getting the promotions out, but a reminder that all the while it is God that is making it grow. How many of you have tried to take or caught yourself taking responsibility for the growth? And when we do that, what we do is we put pressure on others, we put pressure on ourselves, where really we want to get the foundation right, we want to monitor activities, and then we count on God to make it grow. And it says in here too, we are fellow workmen, joint promoters, labors together with and for God. And just a reminder that you are God's garden and vineyard. Wherever you go, God goes, right? And it's according to the grace or the special endowment of what he's called you to do. So you are equipped supernaturally to do what God has called you to do. And then that reminder, for no other foundation can be laid but that is laid of Jesus Christ. I did a podcast recently with one of our workshop speakers, Colin Carr. You got to listen to it. It's amazing. But he talks a lot about this because he's just like built his foundation on this, built his business on this. So you want to check that out, the Wealth Builders podcast. Okay, so we've got our part and we've got God's part. Clearly settle on what God's called you to do and set the vision. Allow God to be your joint promoter He will show you how to achieve success. After all, he has a vested interest in seeing results. He's called you to it. So just do your part and let him do the rest. All right, let's dig into creating our brand. Here are 4 steps to building a successful brand. Number 1, define why you exist and what you want people to see or experience in their interaction with you. In other words, how do you want them to feel when they either buy your product, they step into your store, you sell them a house? Feelings are one of those things that we don't live by feelings, but when you think about how people are blessed that we interact with, part of carrying the presence of God is to bring joy to people, to make them like, wow, I feel really good about myself when I interact with this business person. And that's what you want to carry into your brand. You want someone to look at your brand and like, wow, I really resonate and feel great about that. Number 2, organize your business based on this promise. So when we come out with a brand, I'm going to be sharing with you the elevator pitch. I'm going to be sharing with you how to actually craft your message, bring that value proposition in that we've talked about. Then you want to organize your business based on that promise or based on that vision. Then it's important to communicate your promise. That's what your brand does. Why would I want to buy from you, right? What are you, you need to articulate with people the value of your business, and then being consistent. You know, I don't agree with Starbucks policies as far as their politics or a lot of what they bring to the table. But one thing that I do think we can learn from Starbucks is they are consistent. So whether I'm at a Starbucks in Woodland Park, Colorado, or in South Lake, Texas, or in Singapore, when I go and order my mocha latte, whatever my drink is, it is consistent. And that is important in building a brand. If you ever looked at today, I was shopping for like trying to find some countertops. And when I was going online, I was looking for like wholesale countertops, granite. And one of the things that I look for, which I'm sure you do too, is reviews. So I was looking through the reviews and I'm always like curious, like, oh my gosh, why is there 44 5-star reviews and 2 1-star reviews, right? Where's the inconsistency in those reviews? And in that, you could say that's kind of an isolated incident, but really part of the branding is when we communicate what we're about and we're communicating what people can experience, we're actually making a promise to them. And when we fall short of fulfilling that promise, it can result in something like poor reviews. So being consistent is important, and the systems and all those things that we teach and train about. So when you're looking at branding, define why you exist and what you want people to see or experience in their interaction with you. As I said, how do you want them to feel? So let's unpack that a little bit. A vision statement is an inspirational statement of an idealistic emotional future of a company or group. So what that means is when I'm starting a business, or maybe I'm in the midst of a business, if I'm starting one, I want to articulate in my vision, which would carry over to the branding, what do I really want people to feel when they interact with me? Paul Milligan says this. He says that culture trumps vision every time. I find that very interesting, and in branding, that's really important because we can come out with the best message ever, right? We can get people to maybe connect with us and give us a try. But if the culture of our organization or the experience is different than that vision or branding message, it will trump what you have really set out to accomplish. Vision describes a basic human emotion that a founder intends to be experienced by the people the organization interacts with. It grounds the group so it can actualize its impact on the world. So I know that you being on this Wealth Builders call, you are dedicated to the Lord. Your business is not something that's just out there to make a bunch of money that you spend on the world, but you want to make a difference, right? And you want to have an impact on the world. And the way that you brand and tie that to vision will have a significant impact on how well you are able to actually implement what God has called you to do. This is, I don't think this is Disney's vision statement anymore, but I think this is one of the best vision statements that I have seen. I use it as an example a lot. And the Disney vision statement used to be this: to make people happy. In other words, the whole reason that Walt Disney created Disney was to make people happy. Isn't that powerful? It's an emotion, but also anything that he would promote or put out from Walt Disney would line up with to make people happy. And it seems like a simplistic vision statement. It seems like a simplistic branding, right? But when you think about it, it drives the organization at every level. And that's what you want your branding to do as well. So if your vision statement is powerful, like to make people happy, everybody in your organization that people interact with know their primary goal is to make people happy in this case. So what is your vision statement, and how can we connect your branding to it so that when people see that, they are actually feeling that emotion or experiencing, in some cases, the love of God that is going to have an impact on their life. So organize your business based on the promise of your vision statement. So you might say, Karen, okay, that all sounds great, but how do I figure this out, right? I'm like a person, like if you tell me I can do something, I want to know how. So here are some questions that you can ask to get to the bottom of this. So the question is, what product or service am I delivering to support the vision? So you've got your vision, look at what product or service you are delivering that supports it. Let me give you a quick example here. Many of you are familiar with Andrew Womack Ministries and Charis Bible College. And the vision is to go as far and deep with the gospel as possible. Simple, just like Habakkuk says, so people can read it and run with it. But what product or service is supporting that vision? So we've got, in that situation, we've got Andrew's programs, right? And the ministry is supporting the going far, because that goes to billions of households around the world. But to go as deep, right, is Charis Bible College. So I use that as an example because it's really a classic example of looking at an organization and providing the product or service that supports the vision. And when you do that, and then your brand lines up with it, it actually simplifies things tremendously. Another question is, what channels will I deliver this value to my customers? And that can be something like, hey, I'm going to put the Starbucks in a grocery store because part of our target market is moms, right? And our other locations aren't really conducive. They're more work related. And so I'm going to create a channel that works well for my target market. It can be a distribution thing. It can be, am I going online, or am I going, am I doing a USB product? Because maybe my target market is 60 plus. Well, they kind of still like the USB, right? But if we're trying to reach 25-year-olds, we don't want to sell them a USB. We want to give them an opportunity to not only have the class online, but to know enough about that target market that they actually like to have a voice in things. They want to interact and not have just one-way communication. Another example of a question to ask is, what is my target market or customer segment that will benefit from the value that I have to offer? Isn't that interesting? So when you look at your business, you look at your value proposition, vision, and creating that brand, keep your target market in mind, and who is it that will benefit from the value that I offer? I've been doing a lot of study on vacation rentals. Many of you know we teach on that often. Vacation rentals is part of our real estate coaching. But I was researching some data, and do you know that the biggest segment of clients for Airbnbs or vacation rentals is Gen X? Okay, so that's really good to know. So if my product or service is like most attractive to a younger generation, do you see that's going to guide some of the amenities that I put in there? It's going to guide maybe the way I design something. It's going to guide the way that we communicate in the ad. So they all go together. And in branding, it's really important to understand that, because you want your messaging, you want the look of your logo to reflect your ideal target market. All right, this is something called the BMGC. I know a lot of you are familiar with this. It's the core business model that Karis Business School, we have a foundation on that. You're going to hear a lot about this at the upcoming business workshop, but this is the one-page business plan. And can I just tell you, I think this is like a supernatural plan. It's amazing how we go into this and you can actually figure out your business, and you can discover your brand in this process. So in business coaching, we use this as a foundation. I was just meeting with one of our coaching clients today. He's doing an amazing job. And we were going through this process to help him to create the messaging. And we went back on the BMGC to help pull the elements that we needed to actually bring that brand to life. And so what we're doing this year too at the business workshop is we're going to do a couple special things. One of them is going to be like a live coaching session. So if you're attending in person, we're going to choose one business to bring that owner or the owners up on stage and give you a live coaching session. But also we are incorporating like private coaching sessions, like in a group of like 10 people, where we're going to take these elements and you're going to have the opportunity to actually fill out portions of the BMGC, for example, or fill out the clarity survey. So we're not going to be just sharing something with you. We're going to be working with you on your business. And one of those main sessions is going to be on this business model canvas. So Billy does a great job of teaching on this. You can go to his YouTube channel and learn more, but this is a core part of understanding your branding. Okay, next with branding, you want to communicate your promise. And that's really important too, because as you communicate outwardly what it is that you bring to the table, you're actually giving people a promise of what you're going to deliver. So you don't want to just focus on, I want the best branding possible, a cool logo, I want to have a tagline that just attracts everybody. I just want to challenge you that you are communicating a promise, and can you deliver? All right, here is a tool that we use in coaching. I teach on this at the business school when we do consulting. This creative direction document is like so valuable. And I'm going to take you through the elements of it briefly here. But this is one of those things that you can use to help build the foundation of your brand. So this is what it looks like. When you've got your business, one of the things that you identify is your main target market or target audience. We cannot be all things to all people. And our target market or our customer segment is not everyone. Okay. Like even today, the example that I was sharing with you is just fresh on my mind because we had this conversation. Austin has an amazing remodeling company. And as we were getting deep into this and helping him to really craft his branding, I asked some key questions, like what does your target market look like? Okay, so you think with a remodeling company, on the surface, it might be, well, they do remodeling, but it's never that simple. There's always something that you are strong in or passionate about that we need to make sure comes out in your branding. So we were just realizing that with his company, you know what? A target market that is not his is someone that says, I want the cheapest job possible, because he's a craftsman. He does it right. He communicates with people. He's got systems in place. And so something that's going to help you in creating your brand is it's going to save you money in time and advertising, because you're going to target the right people for your product or service. So when we were talking about this today and just saying like, hey, we need to put something in that elevator speech, in that branding, that eliminates people that are only looking for the cheapest price, because that's not you. And one of the problems that he had to solve is that he was spending so much time with potential clients that didn't even hit his target market. So if you don't know who you're going after, how can you effectively create a brand that is going to meet that or attract that target audience? So in that, as we were crafting this and going through this process, we realized there needed to be some words like, high quality, high touch, right? Because that communicates, experience. We're dedicated to providing you with a really great experience as you remodel your home. Those are key things in his branding that is going to target the right audience. If somebody is only cost conscious and they want the cheapest job, they know that high touch, they know that high quality does not line up with I want the cheapest person out there, right? So let me just take you through these steps and give you a little overview on this. So we go through some ideas on your target market, is age range, income, their geography. That was the other thing, is like, hey, where do you want to do business? He had 3 zip codes. So he wasn't marketing to the whole state of Colorado. 3 zip codes. And that's how this process that we're discussing can help you and save you a ton of money and a ton of trouble, right? Motivators, what's motivating your clients? There's something there's definitely demographics, but there's something we talk about that's called psychographics. And then is there anything special about your target market that we need to be aware of? So the first question is to identify your target audience need. And on the surface, you might say, I'll just continue with that example. Well, they need something remodeled. Well, on the surface, yes, but let's go a little bit deeper, because remember, we are talking about your brand and your vision connect with people emotionally. So if we just stay on the surface of like, oh, we remodel, it's not hitting that emotional area that's actually going to effectively connect someone to your brand. So as we dug into this, we were realizing like, these are people that they're the wife of the home is not happy with her house. Okay. Well, that's important. That's a lot of who his target audience is. It is, I think he said 30 to 60-year-old women. Women are making the decision, and what is motivating them? What is their need to hire a remodeler? And oftentimes it goes back to, I want more room for my family. I want to, my deck is not safe. I want my family to be safe. Or something even like, this kitchen has never functioned the way that I wanted it to, and now I want to fix it, right? So I can feed my family. I want to have people over. I want to host holidays. There's so many things in every business that if you kind of peel that onion and you get to what their actual need is, it provides you with an incredibly strong base for building your brand strategy. And the next question that I ask is, if you didn't exist as a business, how are people getting that need we just defined met? This is really important for you to understand. Yes, it's probably competition, but in that case, it was like they try to do it themselves, right? So it helps give you understanding of where your niche is and the open space that God has created for you to step into. Then the next question is, how does what I offer satisfy the needs or provide the solution? And that helps you when you do this. I would do it with a group, with all your employees or the people around you. That helps you identify like, hey, yeah, how do we actually meet those needs? And when you go through this process, you realize it's not just about, well, we nail things right, or we show up on time. Those are all good things. But it gets you in a little deeper, that gets into the experience and the emotion. So one of the things we came up with here, like how do we satisfy that need or bring a solution, is we make it a pleasant experience. I mean, how many of you have had contractors in your house And you could say, like, yeah, this was a great experience. But if you're managing a household, you're working, you've got kids running around, the last thing you want with remodeling is a messy house, is people, is chaos. And so one of the things that we identified is that, you know what, his team cleans up after themselves. So when people come home from work, even though they're in the midst of the process of remodeling, they make it a priority to keep things neat. Okay, so just I know these are kind of quick examples, but I like to tie a concept to a real life example, which I think helps you connect to your business. And then finally, how does what I do improve the life of my clients? That's where you really get to the bottom of it. And then based on that, you create what I call an elevator pitch and a tagline that concisely communicates what people can expect. So I have a really funny story with and you probably relate to this, but when I've done consulting for years with businesses, and one of the guys that we were consulting had a nonprofit that he was super passionate about. It was really cool. I mean, he had this training program for kids in sports that was amazing. And not only did it teach them the skills of baseball and basketball, but it also brought like life lessons to it. And his problem was like, wow, I've got this great idea. I know this is what God's called me to do, but I can't get anybody to purchase it. And so when you know God's called you to do it, you know that it's a great product, but you can't get anybody to actually purchase it. Can I tell you that your branding and your messaging is probably one of the first places to start? So as we were talking about this, I just said, hey, just, I was a client or someone that might be interested, just communicate, tell me about your business. Well, as a guy that created it, he went right into like major detail about the program and the things he was excited about. Well, after about 20 seconds, my eyes were glazed over and I was like, okay, I know your problem. You are so excited about your business. You're going on for 10 minutes and somebody's just asking for about a 20-second response. That's branding. That is the elevator pitch. And so as we dug into that and I took him through this process, we came up with a very concise statement about his business. All right. So when someone said, what do you do? He stayed with that elevator pitch. And then you know what? All at once he started to get appointments. And then when he went in, he actually had someone's attention because they understood what he was about at a big level, at a macro level. And they were engaged to find out more at that point. And we helped him to structure things and to concisely be able to communicate the benefits of what God has called him to do in this program. So it's good to be passionate, but if we don't bring that brand strategy and communication together with it, what God has put on our hearts and his plan for us to deliver is not going to hit the target. And ultimately, why are we doing what we're doing? We want to help further the kingdom of God, and we know that God is blessing us in the meantime. So I just have a little example here. This is one of them. We do this in Wealth Builders. I was just on with the team earlier, and we were talking about a strategy, and I was like, okay, let's do a scope document. We'll do a creative, we follow this process, and it really works, whether you're a little bitty organization or you're a big organization. These concepts work. So in this, it's just a little example of how we went through and identified, and with that, we created the message box and the things that I just talked to you about. So you'll have this example if you're on here. I think it helps to see one filled out for you to be able to duplicate it. All right, there's also something that's called an avatar. And this is really popular, and this is a good thing. This is something where sometimes you need to take your team or just take yourself if you're an entrepreneur and say, okay, if I understand who my ideal target market is, I want to make it more personal and understand their needs. And so the example I use when I worked at TBM, which was amazing experience, I loved it, great people. But this was something that we had to identify is just the process that I've been taking you through. We did this at TBN with the team as well. And in that, we created our avatar was Ruby. We named her. And sometimes that's really helpful because then as you are looking at maybe new products, new services, messaging, hey, what would Ruby want to see with this? It kind of helps you to keep things focused in your major target market. It doesn't mean that you don't go outside of that, but sometimes we just need to be able to kind of, get it focused, get it out there to meet our major target audience. And then be consistent. This was also something that I've learned just being around successful organizations, successful ministries. One of the biggest traits that they have is being consistent. And so when you have your brand out there and you are communicating a message, and by the way, when you look at your branding and you follow the creative process, the branding that you are able to kind of extract from that is certainly includes a logo. Certainly it is the tagline, but it also drives your graphics. It drives your video images. It drives your blogs. It drives the way that you communicate with people. You take this and you build your website with it. So for example, if my target audience is the Ruby that I was describing, that is 60 plus years old, a mom and a grandma, if my graphics, my videos, my logo is built for someone in their 20s, right? My target audience is going to disconnect. Or if I am, I've got pictures, for example, if my target audience is that Ruby that is more my age or a little older, and the pictures that I'm using in my marketing reflect someone from a completely different age group, not a mom, not that target part, I'm not going to see myself with that brand. And that's part of it. Your logo definitely needs to connect with the people that are your target audience, but everything that you produce also needs to have a connection back to your major target audience. So let's say that you've got something where you want to, you want to target young families, right? Maybe that's your major target market. That's what you are, God's called you to create a business or service for young families. Well, you want to create graphics and marketing that is going to connect with young families. So you can look at that at no matter what age group, no matter what demographic, no matter what psychographic, as you go through that creative document, it's going to help provide guidance in all those areas. Okay, so back to consistency. So I want to encourage you that if you are building a business or starting a business, you know what? We don't always see results right away. And that's with your branding. When you do it right, just stay with it, right? I learned this amazing lesson working at both with Billy and Becky and Andrew Womack Ministries and other successful businesses that I've been around, is that people need to know that they can count on you and that you are going to be there for them. And part of that is consistency in delivering a product or service that people don't have the stop starts with you. Okay. So with your branding, if you're changing your branding all the time, people are not going to get comfortable and get in a rhythm with your company. So you might do some tweaks, you might do some adjustments along the way to update it, but this branding core needs to be consistent. So just encourage you here, Galatians 6:9. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. And I think that's a word for all of us. If you're doing what God's called you to do, I think that getting this branding and messaging wrapped around what God's called you to do, maybe not what you did 20 years ago, but where's He got you today, you get this right, and then just don't quit. Be consistent. All right, so I'm going to bring back our amazing coaches here to help comment on this, and then we're going to answer some questions for you. And so, Troy, why don't I start with you? Give us some insight into this branding topic.
Karen, you did a great job laying it out today, and you made it simple. you made it clear, but you also made it very evident that we do need to have some kind of branding. Branding means a lot. Branding means everything for our business. It's helped to create an image for who we are and how we portray ourselves to the public. It's also created an image for our staff to be proud of as they're working for this particular brand. So it really is kind of how you perceive yourself. I could say that your brand would be very much, how do you dress when you go out and go to work? You're putting a brand on yourself when you get up in the morning and you get dressed. And the way that you present yourself to the public is the same way you want to present your brand, in a way that you can feel a certain amount of pride and confidence in knowing exactly who you did. And Karen did a great job lining out today the important aspects of building that brand. Good job, Karen.
Oh, thanks so much, Troy. I really appreciate your input on that. And I really like how you commented on even like something like, when what we wear, like how are we presenting ourselves, right? That's really important. And that actually is part of the brand. So that's excellent. Frank.
Well, as usual, Karen, just a stellar job. So I thank you for that. Business, I have found, is a calling. It's not for everybody, but the fact is, we need more entrepreneurs that are Christians, because there are so many people out there that need help. We weren't made to flounder. We were made to, be what's the word I'm looking for? Successful and fruitful and that sort of thing. And if more of us were able to do that through business, we would be able to help a lot more people. A good example is Blessings of Hope. I mean, holy cow, those guys have just done a great job, and they're still going. The thing is, you might find that the calling is just a whisper in your ear. I've said this before, but listen to that, pray on it, and see if that whisper becomes maybe more of a solid statement, and follow your dream. Let's see. One other thing was, the Bible says repeatedly we're supposed to help people, but the thing is, if you're going to be successful in business, just like Karen mentioned with Austin, you can't go after everybody. You will not succeed. You've got to pick those special people and encircle yourselves with them, and make your business successful, and then grow it out from there.
Yeah, that's so good, Frank. And you and I, along with Dave, are business coaches, and
Yeah.
it's like with the webinars, we're kind of taking a concept that's sort of like in the middle of things and trying to get you as much information as possible.
Yeah.
But we actually have a process from start to finish, that we have a progression, that this is part of it, that after, really analyzing some things and helping move it forward, you really come out strong with that branding strategy. And I'm just reading here too some of the comments. We've got Lorene is a new business. Victoria wants to start a business. Betty wants to start a business. Shelly has a business. William is a new business. New business from Jeff wanting to start Bobby. So it just goes on. And I'm really excited that you guys are on, because if I had known this right earlier, I would have had much more success faster getting this foundation and this message. There's a lot of people that go in business based on passion, but this is knowledge, and these are tools that you can use to sort of take this amazing passion God's giving you and put it in a structure that is actually going to produce and help people see your vision. And so I am really excited about this, you guys. All the people that are starting a business, and of course, many of you. Joy is restarting her business, and that's important too. Sometimes we have to ask, okay, this is what I was supposed to do 3 years ago. Is this still relevant? Like, Lord, have you brought me to the next level? It's always growing and it's always changing. So let's get to a couple questions here. One of them is from Rachel. Actually, I've got two from Rachel. But the first one is, I'm a real estate agent in the Chicagoland area that wants to brand herself in the right way. This is her 4th full year as an agent. And so, Troy, I'm just going to ask you, you have a real estate company. What advice would you give to Rachel about how to brand herself to stand out from the crowd, you might say?
Rachel, that's a great question. And I'm glad that you're actually asking that, because that shows that you want to get focused. And the more focused you get, the more success you're going to build. So I would start by asking yourself, what part of the transaction do you really enjoy most? Some agents really love working with buyers, some with sellers. Some like the first-time home buyer, others like the second home buyer. Or if it's a particular seller, what type of seller are you looking for? Are you looking for that retirement home, that second home? What are you really looking at? And when you start to identify that, that starts to identify your niche. Because as Karen pointed out in tonight's teaching, when you can find what you're passionate about, it's real easy to get your passion and your brand to align, and you start walking there. So I'd start by really focusing on what brings you the most joy. What do you feel inspired when you go out and do? And you can brand yourself as the specialist in that particular arena of real estate.
That is awesome. Frank, anything that you'd like to comment on with that?
Well, just take what Troy said, and I'll just add a couple things because that was really good, Troy. Yeah, find your passion, but don't try and sell real estate all over Chicago. It's too big. Find 3 or 4 neighborhoods and become an expert in those neighborhoods. So your name pops up all the time. You're the local expert in that area. And again, sometimes a strategy, there's a lot of people that, they're seniors they're downsizing. I know one real estate agent here in the Denver area has made a tremendous amount of money just doing that. Also, find out what people in your brokerage are offering and try to be different. I know that Carol, the gal that I'm talking about, she also does kind of concierge services afterwards, where she gets her utilities hooked up. She arranges for moving trucks. She doesn't do it for free, but people like that. So do those extra little things that not everybody is doing.
That's so good. One of the things that we'll be sharing too at the event is called Blue Ocean Strategy, which
Yeah.
is one of my very favorite things to teach. But it's really an exercise that helps you to find that place that really, technically, it takes competition out of the picture.
Yeah.
There is a gap. I can't even remember what I was where I was teaching on the value proposition, because we've done a lot of trainings lately, but it's finding that gap and then going in and finding that gap that aligns with your passion. And when you do that, there's plenty of room for everybody. So that's something too that you can look forward to with the event, is the Blue Ocean Strategy.
Yeah.
This is a great question. This is from Victoria. And Victoria says, what is the most distinguishing trait required to be successful in a business, or to bear in mind when planning to start a business? Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. Obviously, you want to, have God involved in that decision, what you're going to pursue. But I would tell you, from a stewardship perspective of what God has put on your heart, the best thing you can do is have a valid business model and business plan. One of the things that Billy talks about, and he's absolutely right, is if he had to choose between a great idea or a good business model and business plan, he would choose a good business model and business plan every day of the week. You might have an A+ idea, but if you don't have a strong business model, okay, that great A+ idea will never see the light of day. And that's, just even what we're going through. Do the BMGC, come to the workshop to learn how to get things, started right for you, and build a structure that you can implement and see results in. And then even if you have a C idea, but an A business model and business plan, you will see success. Frank, what would you like to add to that?
It's a fact that most businesses spend more time planning a 2-week vacation for them and the family than they do a business plan. And I'm not kidding you. That's big businesses and small businesses.
So true. Troy?
Yeah, I would agree. A business plan is a good workable business plan. You want to make sure you've got a product that's going to go out there, and your business plan can help do that. And I'm thinking of, I had a call a couple of years ago from a client who wanted to develop a U-turn signal for the car. We did a quick Google search, and it's already been developed. It's
Wow.
even patented. So somebody put a lot of effort and spent a lot of money to patent a U-turn signal, but how many U-turn signals do you see on cars today? So that's an example of a great idea that lacks a good business plan. So a good business plan really is the most important thing to have.
It absolutely is. Thank you so much. All right, so we've got a question, another question here from Rachel. She says, when developing your branding, should you review multiple resources or focus just on one? It it makes sense to focus on one and delve deeper with learning from the one. What are your thoughts? Okay, Rachel, sorry, my phone, I'm not able to see everything. I had to kind of switch it here. But I think what I think what you're asking is, should you just stay with one branding, I think, or maybe if you start with somebody that's going to help you with branding, do you stay with it? So I hope that's what you're asking. But I would say when you develop your branding, to definitely start with your core. Maybe you've got layers of businesses, but start with your core. But here's the thing, what I've provided for you tonight is a way for you to drive your branding with whoever it is that's supporting you. Oftentimes, we don't have these tools, and so we hire someone to brand us, but they don't ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So now, if you complete this and you go to someone to help you with your logo and branding, you're in the driver's seat in a way that's connecting with the heart of what God has called you to do. Frank, anything on that?
Well, I just think the thing is, you don't want to overly complicate starting a business. It's complicated
Yes.
enough as it is. So I would start with a simple idea and build on that, but definitely concentrate on the branding along the way, but don't get, so you're branding all over the place. Decide who you are and be that person or that business.
Amen. Troy, anything?
Yeah, the world it does not lack resources, and
No.
thanks to Google and other search engines, you could get lost for years in resources. Stay focused. The worksheet example that Karen went over at tonight's training can really help you to ask those questions to yourself and get focused. And as you get focused, stay singularly focused on it. Don't try to pull too many resources in and overcomplicate it, like Frank says.
That's so good. All right, this is from Simbarasha. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Please forgive me if I'm not. But this question is, we can say branding is not only having a nice logo, but how my business communicates to my customer. Very true. That's a true statement. So here's the question. How do I make my vision clear to my customer while I'm still working at home? I do, sorry, I'm having to pull this back over. I do baking she bakes and delivers her products per order, but she wants her vision to be more effective. That is a great business. And what's really interesting is what you're talking about with your business at home is that's your channel, that's where you work, but that's not your channel of delivery. Okay. So what I would recommend to you, and I'm sure there's a lot more to learn about it, but I would really focus on answering the questions that I shared with you in that template. And in there, there's something about like, wow, it's made with love and it's wanted, just like really focus on where you're at. They don't need to know that you're baking out of your home. And then really, really leverage the delivery part, because you can't have people come to your home to buy baked goods, but really leverage in your branding how your baked goods go to them. And I think in that, you'll be able to carve out that blue ocean, and it'll be a real asset for you to have a home-based, business with baking. Guys, anything that you want to add to that?
No, I think you said it all.
Awesome. Wow, we've got more questions here. we only have time for one more, but I do just want to do a couple shout outs here. I want to do a shout out for Humberto. He is starting a Christian t-shirt business. That is awesome. He says, I work in a warehouse from 8 to 5. By the time I get home, I'm spent. Do you have advice for learning methods to spare a couple hours after work? Humberto, I definitely do. I did that for years, worked a business and then had a staging company, but it's not going to be enough for me to unpack in this webinar. But maybe what we could do is maybe I'll cover some of these questions in a podcast that's coming up, or I would encourage you, if you've not yet registered for the business workshop, please do so. We have a handful of in-person tickets left, but you can actually attend it by live stream for just $97 using the code WB200. You'll have a chance to ask questions, but yeah, it's like, that is a great question. There's a way, and I would love to communicate more with you on that. So we've got other questions coming in as well. Aaron's got a question, William, and so I will just do my best. I'll get this in a podcast, or we'll bring these questions back to the surface at our next webinar and at the workshop. And so again, we would love for you to join us. We're so passionate about helping you succeed in what God has called you to do. And we bring that supernatural in with the natural knowledge, which really helps contribute to all of us being successful. In addition to that, through our coaching program, someone was asking here, what's the next level? There's a couple things. Coaching is the way to go. If you're serious, invest in coaching. It's a year-long program. I can assure you, if you work with us, meaning you put your work in, along with us as we guide you, your business will be transformed. We are seeing that with our coaching clients. So you can learn more about that. Maybe you guys could put that URL up if people are interested in coaching. We're also, again, come to the event. It's like over 20 hours of teaching on business, and it's covering nonprofits as well. So, wow, with that, we have to sign off here. I can't believe that is already over. Erin is on. Thank you, Erin. So good to see you. She's one of our coaching clients too, and I haven't seen you for a while. I hope we see you at the event coming up. So we love and appreciate you. God bless you, and make it a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.